So I just dived this site for the first time in January of 2021, and I thought it'd be cool to share my experience with you so that if you ever wanted to give it a go, you'd at least know a little bit about it. Norrander's Reef is located off of Rockaway Park, which is a tiny little park tucked in between houses on the southeast side of Bainbridge Island. Specifically, if you look at a map, it is on the southeastern tip of Port Blakely. And if you zoom in, you can see that there's a Rockaway Beach Road running north-south along the coast before it sharply turns west and runs up a hill. And the park is located just before that sharp turn and tucked in between some houses. The entrance is on the northern side, again, right next to a house. Parking is along the east side of the road and is somewhat limited. We were the only ones diving today, but plenty of folks stopped by to spend some time at the park, even on a rainy January day. So plan ahead and maybe try to get there a little early. As I mentioned, the entrance is right by a house. So we were careful to keep our voices down to respect this, as we did show up around 6 in the morning. The park is small, but quite pretty. Unfortunately, there are no facilities at all, so plan accordingly. Maybe plan on spending some time downtown, which the park is pretty close to. Also, be sure to take a moment and admire the view of Seattle. We had a stunning early morning view. By the way, in this shot, you can see the buoy that marks the start of a rope that will take you directly to the reef. Getting into the water is easy. You can just swim straight out to the buoy, descend down the buoy line into, I would think about 20, 25 feet of water, and follow that line down to roughly 50 feet. Unlike many dives, this reef runs perpendicular to shore, so it's easy to miss without a guide. We were lucky in that we were able to follow the rope all the way to the reef, but as you'll see, it can be covered in algae, so I would expect this to be a lot worse in summer months. As you can see underwater, the structure is beautiful. These big rocky boulders that you can swim in and around, lots of crevices, hidey holes for things. And we did see plenty of shells of crabs and other things that kind of hinted at octopuses, but we never saw any. We did about an hour dive, maybe a little less. One of our dry suits was leaking, so we couldn't get to the end of the reef. But I hear it gets down to about 80, 85 feet. Now, when you come in, be sure to spend time in the shallows looking around all the algae. There are a lot of really cool creatures. You're definitely going to see anemones. You're going to see hermit crabs. Here's a crazy shot of 2 hermit crab in a tug-of-war. And we saw some really cool tiny little red shrimp swimming around. This was probably my favorite part of the dive. I don't know why. I always like the little critters, even though I need reading glasses and can barely see them in the water. So to summarize, Norrander's Reef is a pretty darn cool dive site with lots of structure. It's a little bit of a pain to get to for those of us living on the mainland, as we had to get up early to catch a ferry. And I don't think that we would get up at 4 a.m. for this dive again. But certainly when this wild pandemic is over and we can dive the site at a later slack and then spend some time in downtown Bainbridge Island, having a drink and a sandwich afterward, I would go for that for sure. It's well worth going back to. So I hope you enjoy the dive. If you've dived it, leave a comment. Let me know what we missed or what you saw, and leave your tips and recommendations for the site. Have a good one, and hope to see you underwater sometime soon. I'd like to thank our dive club, the Emerald Sea Dive Club, for taking us out on this dive. And I'd also like to thank our sponsor, Evergreen Dive Services, up in Everett. Evergreen has taught my wife and I a lot of what we know about diving, and just full of great people. So Evergreen, thank you for your sponsorship. And for those of you who are in the area, Evergreen Dive Services is up in Everett and waiting to help you with their dry suit only classes. See you underwater.